So who are we even scamming anyways?
Well, we've got the gambling lord, we've got the dictator, and we've got to avoid all the magicians that want to kill us.
Getting kind of bored of that.
You want to go fuck around and be pirates?
Yup.
Red Seas Under Red Skies is the second entry into the Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch. And while this book was enjoyable, it was by no means bad. It was not up to the same standard as the previous entry, The Lies of Locke Lamora. Now, the biggest problems I had with this book stem around it just being a step back in everything besides character work. The world, the villains, and the plot all felt reduced and diluted as compared to the previous book. I'm going to try to make this review a bit different than my other ones. Instead of summarizing the whole book point by point, I'm going to take more of the broad strokes and discuss specific events that happened and take it from more of a reviewer's perspective than just somebody gushing about the book. Now I'm going to jump in here and say like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos, and definitely leave me feedback if you like the new format of review, as it is hard to remember every single fact about the book essentially, and then also give my input. I get caught up in reciting everything and may not actually give my thoughts in the process. So let's get on with it. Now let's kick it off with the plot. And I would describe the plot as meandering and then rushed in the final 70 pages. The whole entire setup of Requiem and Stragos in the beginning gets put on absolute pause in the middle of the book and not developed at all. He literally tells them, like, I need more time, and doesn't really do much to establish more besides one instance of him giving chairs to Requiem. But it is literally stopped until the end. And the middle is essentially filled with character development, but no plot movement. So by the time you reach the end of the book, and it concludes with Locke and John stealing the paintings and double-crossing Stragos with the Priori, it does not feel earned at all. In Lies of Locke Lamora, you got to see all the intricacies of the plot and how each event occurs, and that was one of my favorite parts because it felt like you were along with the journey. But this felt so rushed, and it felt like you were getting the wool pulled off your eyes at the very end. Like, ta-da, we won. And there was not the ins and outs of how they won, which is what I really care about. And also, along with that, the final conclusions weren't really satisfying endings. For Requiem, they stole paintings, which was really dumb after all the setup they gave the vault and how important they wanted the vault to be. And it would have been so cool to see our gentleman bastards do the impossible and break into the impregnable vault. Instead, they steal paintings. I didn't have a problem with their fake. It shows that people aren't stupid in this world, which is fine by me. Now, Stragos' plot had me excited to begin with, as I was so ready for a grand pirate adventure, which it turned out it wasn't really. It was very small and very contained and did not expand the world in the way I wanted it to. I wanted it to be equivalent to the gangs of Camorra and the whole entire Italian mob system, essentially making this world larger and making it seem like there are these pockets of crime syndicates everywhere, and they are just as deep and complex. But it felt super small with like 5 captains and 1 port and really 1 crew. It did not feel as vast and as intriguing as I wish it would have. And then the conclusion with Stragos of them pulling the Priori out of their ass with no previous setup just felt super rushed, as I said. And the poison plotline I was pretty okay with. I thought it was a good motivator, and you really don't know if it's real or not, if he's just bullshitting you. And then that one lady who ends up killing the prisoners on the dock of the prison and then ends up killing the alchemist who has the cure to the poison, gets away. But the whole entire conclusion of killing the prisoners really meant nothing in the end, as they already had the Priori there. And it was literally just like, oh no, they're in danger again. Oh, they're okay. Oh no, they're in danger again. And it just felt cheap in the way of that. And I wish Stragos had used that as a bigger plot point instead of it coming so close to his doom. Now, talking about all the pirate stuff in the middle really is not related to plot. So we'll move on to characters and character development, where I was so pleased with. The relationship with Locke and John expands even more, as in the last book, they were essentially just best buds, couldn't be separated, they had one sound goal. But in this, they have more conflict, especially in the beginning where Locke is in his depression over Caldo, Galdo, and Bug, and John has to pull him through it, essentially. This is mirrored for when Ezri dies. John is so out of it, it's Locke's turn to be the man and help him out. And that was a great way to show the dynamic of their friendship through this mirror image of situation. And talking about Ezri essentially is Jean's love interest, and I think it was a bit rushed, as a lot of things were in this book. With the time that they had, it seemed like they got a bit far into the I love you phase and I will die for you phase, seeing as it was just a couple of weeks. I guess you're locked on a ship. But the thing I want to praise more is that Locke, Jean, and the tertiary characters feel so much like real people and act like real people. It is amazing. And the development that they get in this book is on par with Lies of Locke Lamora in such a different situation and with like lacking plot. So they don't really have the best stakes or motivations to bounce off of. But Scott Lynch still accomplishes what he's going out in progressing these characters in new and interesting ways. Also in characters, I want to touch on the villains. Stragos and Requiem are not scary at all. Literally, Locke is cussing out Stragos the whole fucking time. He ain't no Kappa Barsavi. He ain't no Grey King. Like, I am not intimidated by the Archon, who the Archon should be this extremely powerful warlord. And I don't fucking care. The Archon is not somebody I care to be afraid of, and so it does not feel like there's stakes in it for Locke and Jean, even though they are poisoned. I had the doubt in my mind that the poison was even real the whole time, and I don't think the Archon was intimidating enough and it needed to be stepped up. Requiem was essentially a non-factor. Like, there's a few occasions where Cylindri, his love interest, was intimidating, but they really didn't do much besides flip the paintings. Like, they're not scary either, and I felt no fear in contrast to the Grey King and Kappa Barsabi, who felt like figures of power. There's one moment in the book where Locke describes Captain Drakasha's demeanor as that of Kappa Barsabi's, of that of somebody dangerous and there to do a job. And that's the energy that I needed for Requiem and Stragos. It was just not there, and I did not care for them as villains. Finally, I want to touch on the world building. The biggest disappointment I have was that pirates were not established as another thriving form of thievery. It did not feel like this expansive world where there's different thieving guilds all over the globe, and they're all doing their own form of what was happening in Camor. And this isn't just one thing regulated to one city. Another thing about world building was Tel Varar and the surrounding cities, which were interesting enough, but then again, were not given the depth of Camor. Like, the Priori were introduced and not touched on until the last 40 pages or so. Like, Camor was fleshed out and given the depth of the towers, the different burrows, the thieves' dens, the graveyards. Like, there was everything. In this, you got the gambling tower, Stragos' hold, and the docks. There was nothing else to really make this place unique. It just felt like generic nondescript city. Locke did go off to this one place where they pitted poor people against each other in an arena for sport, but that was not reminiscent of the rest of Tel Varar's culture. It did not feel like something that was the vibe of the city. It just felt way too generic for me and did not have the personality of Camor. Overall, Red Seas Under Red Skies was a very enjoyable read and by no means bad, but it was just a step back from what was the perfection of the Lies of Locke Lamora. I'm hoping Republic of Thieves will pick it up again. Like and subscribe if you enjoy. On to the next one.